So welcome to the Grow with Ryan Magic podcast. Today I'm here with Alex Hayes, and you guys just heard the bio in the intro. This guy's a legend, someone who I've personally connected with a fair bit over the last probably 3 or 4 years, I'd say. And this is an opportunity for us to have an epic convo and hope you guys get some value from it. But the first thing I'd love to explore today with you, man, is just to get your philosophy around life, because you're living a pretty epic lifestyle. You jumped into kind of pro surfing, traveling the world, adventuring, skydiving, just meditation, mindfulness, DJing now. You're developing a lifestyle brand, the Daily Living, which is amazing. You can see in the background there, the surfboard with the cool like face and the top and the tee. And you really are someone that, from my perspective, and I know you've got a big following of people that really admire the way that you live your life. What's your philosophy behind the way, if you could ask yourself and just be able to communicate, what do you think in terms of the way that you live your life? How do you go about it?
I think presence is bliss, and being able to understand what life offers you and be grateful for those opportunities to then achieve those goals and reach your potential, because everybody has a limitless potential. And to not be distracted by what most people call life, because life is beautiful, life is simple, and life is great. And like to focus on those positive and good intentions, you'll constantly attract things that will be great for you and your peers and your environment.
Yeah, amazing, dude. So how old were you when you first started living presently, doing what you loved publicly, so actually started growing your brand?
Well, it's all practice, but I learned a lot through traveling. As soon as I left school, I was doing long distance, long-term travel overseas and living in America and living the high life, gained a lot of exposure, gained a lot of followers, and started making money and learning a lot about what I can do with what I have. And then reaching a point of like partying all the time and making lots of money and being surrounded by all these celebrities and living the dream life, and then not being completely fulfilled. And understanding that I need to learn a lot more about myself and go on a little internal journey, not just continually search through external to fulfill myself, And I believe that I have succeeded to a point of understanding myself and being okay with just being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. I've got this quote that I really put out there, being a young kind of driven dude myself. I created this quote to kind of help me, which was that maturity comes from action, not age. And what you just said there was very wise. The fact that you were seeking externals, you got to a point to be even able to get that learning by following your skills, your love, your passion for surfing, for travel, for experiences, for living the high life, as society would call it, but you just chasing connection and bliss. You went full on into it. You didn't hold back. You went hardcore into it. So what got you to be able to take those leaps and start to go full on with this? What gave you the confidence to do that?
Having momentum and being surrounded by a lot of people doing similar.
How'd you get momentum?
Just through, I'm a bit of an extremist, so I do like to chuck myself into the deep ends and just figure it out.
That's literally as well. If you watch Alex's videos, he's throwing himself off everything straight into the deep end. In the
all
most
calculated.
amazing. Yeah, totally. But it's really, I feel like that's a bit of a metaphor for how I feel like that's a bit of a metaphor for how you live your life, because you do jump into the deep end. You jumping off cliffs. It's scary to do that. I remember when I was skating when I was younger, and the first time I ever dropped in, I spent 3 hours waiting at the top of the half pipe before I dropped in. My mum was like, "I'm leaving if you don't drop in." And she started walking to the car, and I was just still up there. Then I eventually dropped in. I was like, "Oh, why didn't I do that like 3 hours ago?" And then the same thing happened like 3 or 4 years ago. I went and bought a skateboard again because I was like, I want to get back to the skate park. And I had this Batman skateboard that I bought. I was just, again, waiting at the top. But this time I was like, I ain't waiting 3 hours. I haven't skated in like 12 years or 15 years, but I'm just smacking straight in. And I almost fell off. But I was like, you know what? Yes. Feeling that fear and doing it anyway. And so I feel like you do that literally and metaphorically.
It's just having, I guess I have full faith that I believe I can do things. And for me to do things, I need to put myself in uncomfortable situations to, one, learn how to be comfortable through seeking discomfort, but also to grow with that and then analyze and witness how my mind reacts to situations to then use it as a tool to really take the positive steps in my life to then create an impact that I'm destined to make.
Yeah. So it's like for you, you actually want to put yourself in situations and you want to learn from those situations because you know that that's the only way you're going to grow. So what's a situation recently that has been difficult for you or uncomfortable for you, where you've kind of felt a pull or a yearning to do something that you felt nervous about? Because you do a lot of things. I'm watching, you've built a massive following, over 500,000 people. You pro surfer, traveling the world, doing these massive collabs. You've got a massive presence, and then you're jumping into being a DJ, jumping into building this lifestyle brand. These are big moves, man, like really big moves. And you're only 22. So like, I would love to be walked through the mental process that you've gone through in like a recent endeavor that's actually challenged you or you've been scared to do, and how you got through that.
So many little things that I can talk about right now, but I'll touch on a physical challenge because people like to relate to that, I think, because going to the gym, no one really wants to go to the gym, right? Like at first, because it's difficult and it's tough, but you start pushing through and you get over that negative talk in your mind that tells you that you shouldn't do it. You might not have time or you're tired. And so recently when I was in Sydney, I've been enjoying paddling a lot because I just paddle until I reach a point where I'm tired and then I have to paddle all the way back. So
On a surfboard?
On like a 12-foot paddle board. So it's not a surfboard that you surf on, but it's like you're on your stomach and then paddling on your knees as well.
Yeah.
And so I paddled from Manly Beach to Sydney Harbour Bridge with my friend.
How far is that?
It's about 25 kilometers there and back. So about 12 and a half one way.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And when we started, we didn't look at the weather. It was me and my friend, and the weather turned and the wind was in our face and it made it 3 times as hard. And then we had the tide as well, which is we were paddling against it. And it was a metaphor for like, everything was telling me to go back, and the easy option and probably the sane option would have been to go back as well, because I was paddling a long distance and it was cold. It was super windy, bad weather, bad tide. And just like, I wasn't really going anywhere, like, because the tide was so strong going against me that I wasn't making much progress. But I just needed to keep going, because if I let myself down by turning back, it continues in other aspects of life. When it gets a bit tough, just to turn back. And then when I kept going and I turned this one corner, everything flipped, and then everything's on my side and I'm getting momentum and I'm like getting progress. And then the feeling of finishing that paddle was just like, fuck yeah.
I can imagine, man. That's a massive distance. I know. Is
Yeah.
paddling, it's like a little bit easier than swimming, or is it similar? Or
It's definitely a little bit easier than swimming, because you're on something that has a momentum, like you're paddling and it's like riding a bike. But swimming, you stop moving your arms, your body will kind of sink.
Yeah, totally. That's a massive. So you went there and back?
Yeah.
Holy crap, 25 Ks. And when they race for this, like how far do they race? Because it's like a beach sport, right?
It actually, there's one, I did this paddle in Hawaii in 2018 called the Molokai to Oahu World Paddle Championships. And it's actually
Crap.
32 miles in between these two islands. That's otherwise known as the Channel of Bones, because many people have actually died trying to cross this channel. And so annually there's an event, which is the World Paddle Championships. It's 60 kilometers, or roughly 60 kilometers from one to the other. And extreme surf conditions, extreme weather, and extreme tides, and just like you're battling against all odds kind of thing. And so I did that in 2018 to really push myself. And it's something I've always wanted to do, but I also wanted to create this like video and this project around putting myself through this extreme discomfort to then reach a point of like, I can do anything. And so I trained for it for a couple of months, and me and my teammate, we actually got third in the World Paddle Championships.
Holy crap. Congrats.
And yeah, thank you. And it was just a really cool, like, I believed I could do it. I believed in myself to do it, and we did it.
Amazing. Dude, that's pretty incredible. I think a lot of people have this perception of surfers. Like if someone was to watch your videos and they just saw the highlight reel, I don't feel like they would have any idea of the amount of effort that goes into producing the joy that you see on the surface. There's this saying that's like, everything that you see that's really simple is very complex to get to that point and arduous, and things that you see that kind of look kind of messy and arduous are actually really simple to create. Kind of like the iPhone, for example, like so much effort goes into it to get this clean piece of technology and hardware. And with surfing, if anyone's tried surfing, it's damn hard. Like but if you were to watch one of your surfing videos, I know sometimes you just show the like getting smashed before you finally like land the trick or whatever.
Yeah.
All the time you're just seeing you absolutely crush it, just slaying these waves, and it looks so sick. And you would have the kind of impression like these guys are just messing around, having fun all the time. But the actual pain, the polarity, the contrast of the opposite to get to that point has been necessary. And I think that's why you deserve a lot of respect, and there's a lot of strength behind your story. And that's what I'm excited to dig into on our chat today, like really get into the nuts and bolts of like what you actually push yourself to do in your business and your lifestyle to make this whole thing happen. Because you've built a life where you get up, you do things for your mental health, you do things that bring you joy, and you're working on passion projects all the time. So for you, like, what I asked a similar question earlier, but I want to get into like what drives you to make career-based decisions? Like, how do you make a decision of what you want to do next? Like, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, what makes sense? Like, here's my skills. What should I do next? What's practical? Like, what do you make decisions based on when you're choosing another project or choosing to do something? Like, what are the drivers?
I'm extremely stubborn, so I like to do things in a way that only I understand sometimes. And then my mission is to communicate that. So I like to trust my intuition and go off feeling. So I feel like I have a lot of potential in all these different areas. So if I'm not putting my attention in and effort and ethic into these areas, I'm not doing myself a favor. And therefore I am setting myself up for a future filled with regret, because I wasn't doubling down on the opportunities that I have to create this better life for myself, but also my environment.
So what's an example of like when you've trusted your intuition recently in terms of a business project or like a career-based project?
I'd probably say about a year and a half to 2 years ago, I was, making quite a bit of money off like brand deals just on social media, working with brands left and right, getting all these like quick, big payments of stuff, which is easy and awesome. But one, there's not really longevity in it, but I also wanted to really double down on taking a couple of steps back to figure myself out and dedicate my time into learning and following my passions. So I kind of took a step back from that influencer lifestyle to then build my own brand, one the day living, and also put a lot of time into music because I love music. And the root of my editing and my video production always comes down to music, because that's what creates feeling as well. You got the visual and then you got the sound, two aspects that create powerful stories. And so I realized that I have an opportunity to really tell stories through music as well as video. So I focused on DJing and producing music and stuff. And so now that's become, not there yet, but it's got momentum. And
Hey, I've seen you playing, you DJing at massive clubs and doing these big events and stuff. Like, surely that's nerve-wracking.
for sure. And the thing is, public speaking for me was always a huge fear of mine. Like in school, I could never do speeches, and getting up in front of a crowd has always been a huge fear of mine. So taking that step and getting on stage and being that core center of attention was something that I really needed to grow as a human, because I couldn't let other people's opinions leave me scared.
Mm.
And just fully backing myself to take those steps, take those leaps, and back myself.
It's funny listening to your responses to these questions, because it's you kind of, you've normalized it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it seems pretty, you're like, yeah, well, I can't let this thing happen. So I just would get up and, DJ at this massive club, even though I'm petrified of public speaking. You do realize that's different, right? Most people, when even if it was like, I don't like my job, I could find another job that I like more, but I'm not going to take that risk, because just irrational insecurities, but they're real, they're emotional, they do take over your body. You're talking about, you've got massive brand deals coming in, you got finances coming in, you've created what people dream of creating, and even beyond that, beyond what people dream of creating. Like, a lot of people dream of getting like a 6-figure income through corporate, and your dream was, you do what you love most: surfing, exploring, adventuring, partying, celebrating life, connecting with people, traveling. These are all amazing things, like challenges as well, fun, unique challenges. Hey, let's see if we can jump from here and then get over that rock and land in the water, or let's try to jump, all this crazy stuff. And that was working. And then you went, you know what? I want to lean into my edge and do the thing that I'm most afraid to do, which is public speaking. And not even just like, I'm just going to talk, but I'm going to put a whole show on for people and like tear the roof down. That's a big deal, man. That's seriously cool. Have you seen the Steve Aoki documentary/movie?
I haven't yet, but I've really wanted to. I just haven't done it yet.
Man, you will send me a message afterwards and you'll be like, dude, that was absolutely lit.
I'll add it to the list.
It's cool, but it's really inspiring. Like, it's inspiring from like a passion perspective, but a work ethic perspective, from a standards perspective, from a holding the vision perspective. Like, it's really cool. I think it's called
Cool.
I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.
Yeah,
I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
That's cool.
You'll love it, man. And I'd love to come along, and one day when you're playing when you're doing a set somewhere, and just get up there and just like, not even having to do something, but just rocking it up.
always, bro.
I would love to do that.
Always welcome.
It's so sick. Appreciate that, man. So what does music mean to you?
Oof. Music is feeling, and music is relatable. So take feeling and, being relatable, and you can tell stories that can help people. So, and music's always around. It's been around forever, and it will be around forever. It's not just a trend. Sure, there'll be certain genres that might be hot and, and might just die out, but music is always there, and to be able to contribute to that is a gift.
Because it's a passion, right? You've made it part of your career. So what would you say to someone who is currently doing something for a vocation or a career that they don't like?
Only you can answer the questions that you ask. Like, only you can understand what's right for you, and you just have to, if you are thinking of doing something that might be really hard, that question's not going to disappear by sheltering it and like putting it away. So if you find yourself wanting to follow your passions, it shouldn't be a discussion of should I, it's when, like right now or next week, should I, finish this job and then I'll do it next week. Or it shouldn't be a matter of like, should I, it's just do it.
Yeah. You spoke about feeling and intuition before. Can you do your best to describe like the describe the way that it does feel when you know you need to do something? Because a lot of people dampen that noise.
Mm.
Because you got two ways of thinking from I've done a lot of study of the power of the mind and meditation and how that impacts it. We've got fear-based thinking, and then we have creative-based thinking. It's like fear and defensiveness, and then we have intuitive thinking. We have intellect, we have intuition. And the intellect sometimes for a lot of people is more powerful than the actual intuitive voice. It's like the part of the mind that's sitting on the throne as the king is the intellect, which is fear, defensiveness, insecurity, doubt, programming based on how we were taught or told that we should. That word should is a nasty word, but how we should show up in the world. And that's like sitting on the throne for a lot of people. And the servant, like the intellect really should be the intellect should be the servant that's helping deliver the message of the king, like the heart of the human, of what they want to do with that person. But for a lot of people that switch. So instead of having the intuition on the throne and then being able to say, like, my heart is guiding me towards building a lifestyle brand. Hey, servant, could you please, let's figure out a way to make this happen. It's like that fear and defensiveness is on the throne. And then the intuition's like, hey, I kind of have a dream. I kind of want to be a DJ. And it's like, shut up. It's not going to keep us safe. And it's like the voice is very quiet and diluted and pushed down. So for you, I would love to hear, like, what's for you to do your best, at least to describe for you when you know that you need to do something. What does that feeling feel like? What is it like?
It's a really tough one to answer because it's really hard to put into pushing intuition into words. It's like when logic meets vision. What do you trust when a vision doesn't make sense, but you know it's right? When all the everything that is kind of correct and logistical, like it makes sense to do it that way, right? It's like,
yeah. But what's crazy is like the greatest thought leaders of all time, even Bill Gates spoke about, like, sometimes you just have to make decisions from intuition. Bill Gates is like the most logical, intelligent dude ever. It's like Steve Jobs actually wouldn't work or do business with anyone that hadn't done like LSD or some kind of like, medicine ceremonies from a spiritual component to allow that creativity and that intuition loose. So it's like, it seems like woo-woo for a lot of people, but for me, it's like the most accurate thing in the whole world. And intellect just and this is why it's hard to answer this question, because intellect can just try to put something that's 100% true into it. It's trying to describe something, but it's never going to be as accurate as the feeling itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what excites you most at the moment? What are you like most pumped by?
Growth.
Yeah.
I just want to grow. I just want to learn more about myself, and I want to, double down and being a better businessman, being a better CEO, being a leader. I want to, grow my good characteristics of being a good leader, so then I can create a nice impact. And as well as what excites me is getting better at surfing, getting better at activities. I want to continually just push myself. I fear the fact of being still, and I fear the fact of not being where I know I can be. So if I'm not giving myself the right opportunities to do that, I'm not doing myself a favor.
100%. So what I'd love to know from you is something at the moment that you kind of, like, we may as well just get into this while we're here.
Yep.
Like, what's something for you that you really want to do that is kind of been like in the back of your mind that you haven't yet brought to the surface and like said that, you know what, I actually really want to do? Like, what's something that's big and scary for you that you've been yet to like draw a line in the sand and say, I'm gonna fucking do that thing?
Take the reins and really drive the Day Living business into like $1 billion company.
Holy crap. And what's motivating that?
Understanding that it can.
Yeah. Possibility.
Yeah.
Achieving your potential.
And it's just like, I know I can do it, and I see that I can do it. So why shouldn't I?
Yeah. And what happens if you don't do it?
Then, I mean, it's all fine. Like, I could well and truly not do that and live, pretty normal, and I hate to say the word mediocre, but like I could live a lesser than possible life because I'm slightly lazy, which is fine. But
Mate,
I'm here for a reason.
I'm going to intervene here because your life is not mediocre. Your life is not normal.
No, it's definitely not normal, but it's always an option for me to take a step back and just chill. And I'm very lucky to live in Australia. I could be homeless and be happy. I could be grateful with nothing, and that's the reality of it. But I'm here for a reason, and it's not just by coincidence. Do I have all these opportunities and possibilities? Should I to ignore it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And do you meditate at the moment?
Every day.
Every day. So you fear stillness, but you still take time to be still.
Well, it's just finding calm in the chaos.
Yeah.
You'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a garden in a war.
I love that. Say that again.
I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a
Yeah.
garden in a war.
Yeah. Are you familiar? That's beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing that. Have you heard of the masculine male archetypes as like a psychological theory?
Love to learn.
Awesome. There's this like, so it's king, warrior, magician, and lover are these four masculine male archetypes. And essentially it's like, you got your personality that's formed uh, from your exposure, your parents, your environment, what you see, what you like. It's kind of gets formed as the unique combination of preferences that you have and beliefs that you have in the world. And then you have like your survival instincts that are like, I want to survive, I want to reproduce, I want power. Just like these animalistic, like reptilian drivers that are within our brain as well. Just above them, you have this set of masculine archetypal energies that every man has within them. It's king, warrior, magician, lover. King energy is like purpose driven. It's like holding space. It's being the conduit between like God or the divine and the people or your sphere of influence you have. So it's like that leadership capability that's it's very outwardly focused, meaning that you're using your gifts to be able to support and nurture others. It's very nurturing. It's lifting other people up. It's empowerment. Then you have warrior, which is courage, discernment, being able to get things done. You've got the magician energy, which is intuition. It's technology, understanding, intellect as well. And then you have the lover energy, which is fulfillment and connection to all things and all people. It's really beautiful. But each of these archetypes have those kind of what were more empowering, useful characteristics, but then there's shadow forms or disempowering forms, ways that they can be destructive. The reason I want to bring these up is because for me, one thing when I was on my journey of growing really quickly and I wanted to drive winning really, really quickly, there was one thing I wish I understood, which was the warrior energy. All four of these energies have like, they're built and developed within boys as we kind of grow and to become men when we're 18 plus. And you've got the junior version of the warrior, which is like, we can make things happen, going after it, strength, courage, is called the hero. And it's the last archetypal kind of like set of way of viewing the world to develop within men. And it develops between like 15 and 18. And its purpose is actually to give us as like young dudes this like unrealistic, ignorant, ridiculous confidence that we can do whatever the hell that we want in the world, which is so needed. And the reason it's needed, or the design behind it, is so that we actually have this like crazy view of the world, so that we separate ourselves from the nest. We actually go out there and start forging our own way. And over time, like that develops into the warrior and it really grounds in. And I feel like for you at the moment, like your biggest stretch or what's going to like help you so much with your vision is like really grounding in and integrating. I really feel like you've gotten so much wisdom over the last few years. And groundedness, when you spoke about before at the start of this, like I was going and driving for external validation and short-term gratification. And now I realize that like my fulfillment's really important and I need to derive that in. And the fact that you meditate every day, you're going to make that transition from hero to warrior. And you're already like making it so much quicker than the average person. And unfortunately, so many males, masculine energy in the world, it's not always male, but masculine energy, they never really turn into men. They never ground into being generative and looking to make a difference. And when you're talking about harnessing your gifts, I mean, and using it and taking advantage of it. There's so much gratitude in there. It's so
Mm.
beautiful, man.
Oh, thank you. That was really insightful and awesome. I'll
Good
have to
stuff.
read. I'll have to read into that.
Yeah, I'll send you some links after this. It's
That'd be
really
cool.
cool stuff. It's like one of my favorite. There's a book that goes through them, but there's a lot of study that started with like psychological frameworks from Carl Jung. If you've heard of him, he's like one of the OGs that was one of Freud's. If you've heard of like Freud, he said that Netflix series. Then one of his
No,
students,
I haven't.
he's like the OG of psychology. He wrote like there was this book I saw in the bookstore. It was like 500 pages long, and it was just references of frameworks that Freud created. It wasn't even the knowledge. It was just like this framework, this framework, this. I was like, how did this guy create so many frameworks around psychology? It's ridiculous. So, man, what's like if you've moved to Byron recently? On a daily basis, like what do you do to keep yourself feeling like inspired? Because you're driving, you're making these big steps, you're leaning into leadership. What do you do to balance that and keep yourself feeling energized and replenished? What habits are most beneficial for you?
It's funny. Before I say this, I'm naturally super disorganized, and like as someone with ADHD, I just like to pick up everything full speed ahead and just figure it out later, kind of thing. Which is cool to have, but mix that with routine, structure, and discipline. Then you have the power to do anything. So I guess I'm trying to, come up with a consistent and live a consistent routine of every day I meditate. I take time to connect with myself and be here in the now and be grounded. Remember that I'm just a living being. And then with that, there's the other side of it. I'll understand my potential and I'll inspire myself through writing goals and working towards them, and then doing things like training and getting fit and surfing, all those things that remind me of who I am before getting lost with. It's very easy to get lost in this world. It's very easy to lose track of time. It's very easy to let social media control your emotions, and it's very easy to just take it easy kind of thing, which is cool. But I think power of routine and repetition is really important.
Yeah. So talk to me about how you've developed that, and like talk to me about like the growth journey that you've gone through to, obviously we always have room for growth, but you've grown in that area. Talk to me about like how you've been able to develop your discipline and your routine. And
just through stuffing up and making mistakes and screwing people over, like when I say screwing people over, I mean like double booking myself and not taking control of my calendar, and then letting people down that I didn't want to let down because of my inability to organize my life. And it's disappointing, and it shouldn't be that hard. So taking note that although time is irrelevant, time is real, and to structure your life around that time to then let yourself have freedom. And it's funny because freedom's perceived as having no obligations, but to have a disciplined structure actually allows you to be fully free, because when you're free, you're free. When you've done doing what you need to do in this time, then you have X amount of time to be free and channel those ideas and channel those visions that you're meant to channel. Otherwise, like the past Alex would just be doing a bit of everything all day kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's your self-awareness is really impressive. Most people don't have the understanding of how they work and then customize things around that. As you mentioned, your ADHD, you go full on into things. Like once you do something, you really give it absolutely everything. And you also mentioned that you're disorganized. We were talking about that before we jumped on the podcast. I'm mega disorganized as well. It's hence why I'm hiring a PA at the moment. It's like, I just know how I work. And I feel like a really great role model for this, someone that you can tell that's just dialed this in, is Gary Vee. Like Gary Vee runs multiple massive agencies, but he doesn't do operations. Like he doesn't do any of the systems and like people and processes, like managing people, developing any of that, overseeing things. He just does meetings. He knows that he works well in meetings. So it's just meetings. It's like he knows that he works well responding to things, as opposed to like having to have no momentum and then creating it from scratch. So the normal keynote is like 60-minute keynote or 55 minutes, 5-minute Q&A. He does 30-30, which no one else does, like 30 minutes talking, 30 minutes Q&A, because he knows that he works well responding. Like he just knows that about it. And for someone to have just like not have any shame about their weaknesses, I think that's like really valuable. I love this saying, that because this has been my journey as well. Like I had this really hard, harsh view of myself. Like I should just conquer all my weaknesses. Like, why do I have weaknesses? Why am I not good at, because a business is made off marketing, sales, product development, operations, and finance. Why am I not good at finances and operations? Like, why am I not good at doing these like repetitious things every single day, building these cadences in the business? And it's like, all I did for a couple of years was just fine tune these weaknesses. And the business just started going backwards because I wasn't spending as much time on my strengths. And so like this nice like reframe that I give myself is tame, not shame. So anything that's like a stretch of mine, just tame it, meaning like work around it, reel it in a little bit, but don't shame it. Don't be like, I'm disorganized. Oh, I'm not productive. Or I don't work. I've got a short attention span, because I'm not good at finishing things. I just start it, then get excited about the idea, then move on to something else. And so if I don't have like finishes in the business, all this like opportunity to capitalize on these ideas just leaves.
Me too. Hey.
Yeah. It's really interesting chats, and I hope the guys that are listening, guys and gals who are listening into the interview today, like take some confidence and in being able to communicate your strengths and weaknesses. And I see this a lot with people going for interviews and in roles as well. It's like I get people to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 in different areas, and they'll be like 9, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, 7 for one of the things. And I'm like, if that's your biggest weakness and you're 7 out of 10 in it, it's just a lie. Like for me, I'm like 2 out of 10 organization. So you're telling me that you're 7 out of 10 in terms of like speaking, when I would rate myself like 9 out of 10. It's not true. You know what I mean? Just like own it. Go in and be like, I'm really not good at working in short bursts. I work long, just like steady. And I feel like that's where structure cripples people as well. Like there's so many systems in society that work for some people, don't work for others. And then people just think, I'm not smart. Well, it's like, I just don't work well being spoken to. I like more experience-based learning, you know. And some people through high school just feel like they're dumb because they don't work well like remembering information and then just like doing the tests. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. So man, like what is your, when you think about your business, and like what do you think your biggest strength is?
Understanding people.
Yeah, beautiful. Tell us about that.
I think that I can empathize a lot with people's emotions and communicate to then understand them and then create a better outcome for all parties involved.
Yeah.
So I really related to what you were saying about Gary Vee. Like his skill is just meetings, and I would say that would be my skill as well.
Yeah.
My skill is not handling accounts, handling
spreadsheets.
You know, like that's put a spreadsheet in front of me and I wouldn't know what to do. Honestly,
Yeah.
I suck at it. And it's funny because naturally I'm left to feel a little bit less because of that weakness. But the reality is I'm not less. I'm just more in another area of strength to understand people, to then give tasks away, to then, you know, so that's something that I'm actually really learning, is taking a step back a little bit and handing more tasks to other people. Because at first, the hardest thing is to give your baby to someone else to babysit, right? Let's just think of you're a parent. I've never been a parent yet, but I can understand that you're the first ever time that you have a babysitter, it will be extremely fucking nerve-wracking.
Nah, you're on point. I've got a lot of friends who have like young kids, and it's like the biggest deal. The first, or like even taking even like a lot of people that I know, they take they're struggling to sleep because the kids aren't, you know, waking up throughout the night, and they can't get themselves to like break that because they feel so guilty about going to like a night nanny or like a night school to teach the kids that they need to cry themselves to sleep because they don't. It's just, you're right, man. It's like
attachment. It's attachment.
Yeah.
And it's separating that attachment. For example, I used to edit all of my videos on YouTube. Like I used to do daily vlogs where I'd film, I'd edit, I'd post them, as well as direct and understand the value and vision of each video, as well as be the talent and take part in all activities. Like I was doing freaking everything, and it was pretty much mission impossible and tiring and mentally draining, and it made me forget kind of why I was doing it, because it just became a chore.
Yeah.
And I remember the first couple of videos of paying an editor to help me with just like the continuing projects of like my vlogs, where reality is like when I was editing in my own head, I'm the only one who can edit like this. But that is so wrong, because it's just a matter of explaining to someone else and scaling myself to then build together. And so the first couple of times of handing my videos for someone else to edit, it was hard, but then seeing and then relying on other humans' talent, it became like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is fucking awesome, man. Like
there's probably people that are better at it than you.
Exactly.
It's not your number one genius.
100%. And reality is, if I cannot communicate the vision clearly enough, then it's on me. So I should be able to explain how and what to do, and then leave it up to you and have full faith. And if not, then it comes down to me.
Yeah. And also like just from a practical standpoint, when you're starting in business and you get to the point where you start to hire people, usually it puts a strain on your profit margins. It's like a bit of a stretch to get people. And so usually the people that you hire are slightly less experienced and talented. So there is a bit of a juggling act and integration thing where you will have to babysit some people. If you're going to hire someone that's like $180,000 a year video editor, then they'll come in and just like crush it. But it's like, can you really afford to pay someone that right off the bat? No, I couldn't either. It's just, it's not sensible. So I think that's also important. But I feel like go for it, man.
It's just like, to scale your business, as you understand, you have to scale yourself. So to have 10 Alexes working for the same goal is better than one Alex.
Absolutely.
So it's my job to simplify and direct the goal for then everyone to take a piece and work towards it.
Yeah.
As a collective.
Yeah, totally. I feel like one thing that's important as well is that when you're trying to grow a business, you can really quickly get, like when it becomes about the mission of the objective that you're trying to achieve, it becomes the top priority because everyone's working towards it. And it's easy as like the talent, so to speak, or the founder to then make your mission just hitting the results that everyone's working towards. And like one thing that I have started to realize is that there's nothing that's more important than me feeling joy in the business. Even if I start, for me, was getting too much into management and I started doing too much managing, too much operations, like this official CEO role. And I actually started to do things that were against my core passion and not enough time on what I love to do the most, which for me is doing this. Like I love these chats, man. I'm loving this convo right now. It's part of the things that I love. And I spent less time on that. And as a result, like I didn't have the sustainability to keep doing the business. And so like this huge theme I've been exploring lately, and I was talking yesterday with my best friend, Ricky, about it. We're talking about the idea that it's not selfish to like it's you being the most authentic version of yourself and doing what you love and being fulfilled is like the least selfish thing in the world that you can do. By being observed, you inspire other people to be that version for themselves. But when you kind of take the responsibility on of being the leader for the mission and trying to further this, sometimes you can fall into the trap of going, I don't want to do all these things when these people are working so hard, and you can project like, I wouldn't want to do what they're doing. And therefore, I kind of feel almost a little bit guilty that they're doing all this hard work, but it's like, that's what they want to do. We want to do vision stuff. We want to do strategy. We want to do creative stuff. That's who we are. You know what I mean?
We got to allow freedom to think, to then download and channel what we're meant to learn.
You know how many business owners could get value from you saying that are doing like 5 mil a year in business? Could like that thing you just said could change everything for them, because it's seen as a woo-woo thing, like channel intuition, space, but it's like people get so busy, and when you're busy, you miss things. And when you create space, you see things, and those things that you see, like people are convinced I should be working 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week. And then it's like busy, 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 busy. Whereas someone else could work 1 hour for the whole month, choose one idea to buy a business that 10x what that guy was doing, working full time for 5 years, could make more growth in one day than that person did in 5 years, just working 1 hour by making a big decision, if they've got the self-worth to feel like they deserve that.
For sure.
It's crazy. But I think like if like a fish was measuring himself based on his capability and ability to climb a tree, he's going to feel like a failure. So I feel like it's so important that the people that are listening here, like, just know yourself as the message, right? What advice would you give to those that are listening to like represent their skills and follow their passions?
I think to not feel down by other people doing things that you suck at. It's pretty easy to, especially with social media now, it's pretty easy to look at everyone else doing really cool things, and then you're not doing that cool thing, but you might be doing something else. But because you don't back yourself, you're not really diving deep into it as much because you're worried about what you suck at. Like, it's like understanding your power and using it.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you, because one thing I know for as a fact is that it takes time to get things off the ground. And it's really like you're most sensitive and nervous and scared when you first start something. And that's where a lot of people struggle. Like they want to do their business at the start, and then they try, but then the results don't come, and then they get defeated, and then they stop. I'm curious to know, and you might have just instantly had massive growth because you're a cool, good looking dude that just like went up on Insta. I'm not sure, but talk to me about like your start of the journey.
So many little stages of it. It all kind of, like I downloaded, I'll just start way back when. I downloaded Instagram when I was like 12 to 13, when it was just kind of a photo editing app. And then my Instagram was A Hayes Images, and I was a professional iPhone photographer. So I had a lot of people in my school telling me, you ain't shit. Like, you're a kook kind of thing. Like, why are you doing that? iPhones aren't, you can't take photos on an iPhone. You can't, why are you building a following? And at that time, I understood that if I followed a bunch of people, they'd follow me back, and then more eyes on my craft. So I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just building something because it was fun, and I loved growth in numbers. And
it was exciting, right?
It's exciting, yeah. And then I did this little stunt not long after having Instagram, where I photoshopped a shark into a photo of me sitting on a surfboard, and then that went really viral. And then through that came the second wave of like, look at this dude, like doing stuff on social media. Like, it's such a waste of time. There's no longevity in this. So having people like tell me that what I'm doing is wrong before me even really knowing what I was doing, it's quite difficult to rise through that. Because when your whole circle doesn't understand it, it's quite hard to continue going forward with that goal. So there's been many stages of me just not even wanting to do anything on social media because of opinion, and also just because I was failing to receive not compliments, but recognition of what I was doing, of being a thing. And it's tough sometimes. It's tough, as you would know. It's like everyone's crazy until they're a pioneer. So I kind of forgot the question, but
it's just like your journey to getting through the hardship initially, and like what it looked like. And that was really helpful hearing that, because you didn't just, put it up and everyone's like, look how cool Alex is, he's the best. They're just like, you're a piece of shit. What are you doing?
Yeah. Like I was extremely bullied through my whole school life. Like really, I was the kid that was singing in the choir, and I was at like an all boys rugby school, like big, like if you don't play footy, you're a bitch. And if you're not smart, you're a loser kind of thing. And like, I didn't play basketball. All I wanted to do was surf. And, I wanted to surf and get creative and do what I enjoyed. And at the time, in an environment where you're surrounded by all these young boys, and everyone's filled with jealousy and not being able to understand themselves, they reflect their energy onto other people that are on their journey, maybe slightly ahead of understanding themselves and following their intuition, because it's very easy to fall into what everyone else is doing.
Mm.
And I always kind of was, I mean, I am very different. Like, I always have been slightly different, but school became kind of like changing skin color for me so I could just like fit in and get through it as like survival technique. So growing up through people's negative opinions towards what I was doing was very difficult, because it's like
Mm.
going against all odds. It's like paddling upwind. It's like paddling when the tide's against me. It's fucking hard. But
Yeah.
then turning that corner and then understanding when people started to see what I was doing as cool and actually kind of inspirational, and like, holy fuck, like this guy's doing what he loves and he's creating a lifestyle around it. That's pretty cool. I'll support it. And
Mm.
then there's always going to be the people that are jealous, that don't understand because they're too scared to take their own steps for their own goals. So they
Mm.
try bringing other people down. So I was a huge product of tall poppy syndrome in my life.
Mm.
And it's always going to be a thing. But right now I'm so beyond caring that I want to help anyone that has that mindset. It's like, come on, man, like, you really still trying to bring people down in this world. Like, so yeah, it was pretty hard to build a social media following when no one else understood it at the time.
Yeah. And those that we look up to most in the world are always those who are the most radically authentically themselves. And the more weird, the better, once they're through that initial kind of like pushing shit up a hill, like copping judgment, copping ridicule, like Lady Gaga doing crazy stunts, like wearing dresses that are made of meat, or these religious things that stir up, like the Jonas song, Judas, sorry. You know, all this stuff that stirs up a fuss. And then Conor McGregor, even he's like crazy dude that's just like saying all this crazy, like massive materialism, massive fuck you, but he's being authentic, and people crave that within themselves.
Yeah.
Someone can rise above, that's when everyone starts getting behind them. But on the journey up, it's cool how this interview, because I reckon we'll wrap up after this, and this is a couple of things I want to go through quickly. But this, towards the start of the interview, talking about your biggest kind of challenge that you went through recently, the physical challenge of just getting through the waves, doing the paddleboarding, and then just like finishing with that same theme is pretty cool, because your lifestyle is so beautiful to watch. It's so cool. It's so adventurous. It's filled with so much nature, so much presence, so much exhilaration. You're living, like you're alive. You're actually living life.
Living
And
daily living.
yeah. Hashtag.
That's what it's about.
Oh yeah. But absolutely, like, get behind the brand. We'll go through that in a minute. But yeah, it's, you're living the life, but it didn't just happen. You weren't just like, okay, cool, I'm going to live my life. It was like, I'm going to live my life, copping on sort of people questioning me, and then me questioning myself, and then me choosing to rise above it. Then you're in the flow and rhythm of momentum, living your life daily life, the daily life. Boom.
Exactly. And that's what it's all, that's what it's all about. If you're not living daily, then like, not that anything's a waste of time, because it's all growth and all lessons and all experience, but just being present through life every single day is super important.
Yeah. So like, do it today. Like, go out there. It could be as
Yeah.
little as just going for a swim at the beach. When I started swimming at the beach a few years ago, it was like, before that, it was just not something I do. It's just like, I just have to do my thing, go to work, like go to the office, work, go home, go back, work, sleep.
There's no such thing as tomorrow.
Yeah. Go for it. Hit us home with like, hit this message home, man. Like, let's wrap it up with like you just crushing this message of what you want, how you want people to live. Like, what do you want to stand for?
I think everybody deserves to be happy, and everybody deserves to understand themselves. And life is all about the practice of continually looking inside yourself and, addressing the things that you might have not addressed from your past, to then let go and have a more clear future of just being able to be a witness to life's endless offerings. Because it's always there, but you can't be looking at an opportunity ahead of you. You're still like, your head's turned back. You know what I mean? And for opportunities to be created in front of you, you got to close your last ones, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. So where can people, I'm going to ask where people can find you.
Mhm.
I know Instagram's your biggest place. Is that where you want people to kind of check you out?
Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, or honestly, the daily living. To get a few more eyes on that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, as soon as people see your profile on Insta, they're going to want to follow the daily living because it's just more cool shit. Like you're spreading these beautiful messages and it's inspiring. Every time I see you popping up in my newsfeed, I'm just like, yes, like I'm now going to go and do something fun. I'm now going to live daily living, hashtag boom.
Well, that's what it's about. Everybody in this life deserves to live.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Epic, man. So before we wrapped up, man, I wanted to take a moment to honor you for being such a role model at such a young age and just bringing your heart, putting it on the line, wearing it on your sleeve, being authentic, showing up, and then choosing to spend your time inspiring others to do the same at such a young age. Like I know you don't want to be defined by your age, but you should be, because it's incredible what you've achieved so young, and it's mega inspiring. So thank you for being you, man, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm very excited to continue watching the mass impact that you're, having on people, and watching you grow. It's fucking awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And if you're on here, make sure that you send Alex a message. Like jump onto, is it just Alex Hayes?
Yep. ALEXHAYES. Alex Hayes.
Beautiful. And send him a message. Like I know how
Yeah,
much
please
it
do.
means. It means the world to me when I have someone actually, send me a message. If anything made an impact to you, and there was lots of stuff we went through today, I know it'll mean the world to Alex for you to send through a message. So yeah,
Definitely.
thanks again for coming on today, man. Big love.
Thank you. Appreciate it.